Okay, welcome everyone. This is the Higher Self Yoga series. It's been a pretty long intermission period since our last class and our last meet, and this is really a continuation of where we left off earlier this year. So around May or June, there was a period where this group was doing a lot of lucid dream and out of body experience work. We were using the tools from the Monroe Institute, so that's called the Gateway process or the Gateway experience. So I'll provide the links that everyone needs to get those audios. There's some you can find on YouTube as well. There's a link I provided for that in the WhatsApp group, but the quality from YouTube is not as good. So if you could just purchase it from hemisync.com or from the Monroe Institute, I'd recommend that. We're really only going to be using one track this entire period. So today will mostly just be a recap and an overview of what the next 5 weeks are going to be looking like. So the reason the series is short is because at the end of January, I'm going to India, and soon after that, I'll be ordaining as a monk. So I won't be able to teach for a while. I mean, it might be like a year that I won't be able to teach for. Yeah, the initial year as a monk is like intensive, and my phone use will be pretty limited. So I shared a couple articles with most of you. Higher Self Yoga was the title of one of them. It was a blog post that summarize what my motivations for this work really are, and I'll briefly just touch on it. At the end of our last 2-month stint of this lucid dreaming and OBE work, there was a dream I had, which it was strange because I've never had an experience where you're lucid and not lucid at the same time. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? But in this dream, I was calling an old boss, and during the call, a phone call like came in, and the dreamscape split into two realities. So imagine having two dreams simultaneously, or like being in two bodies, two realities at the same time. So one of these realities was me in the dreamscape, not lucid at all. And the other reality was uh, a what I believe to be a manifestation of guidance. So as part of my OBE and lucid dream explorations, I've discovered this architecture that is the soul. And all of us have this experience with guidance. We feel this pull to go in a certain direction in life, or get messages or dreams that are significant, or of things before they happen. There's this field of consciousness, or there's this part of us that exists outside of time and seems to be the North Star of our lives. After years and years of OBEs, I began to wonder, what is it that's driving this state? And it led to this particular discovery. Higher self, from my direct experience with it, manifests or appears as a formless intelligence. It's like a nebulous consciousness. But it also has a form-based manifestation. And I've experienced that as a kind of, it's almost like being inside of a computer mainframe. And from here, the various incarnations, your past, present, parallel, future lives are directly accessible. Meaning, for me, they appeared on screens. And if my attention went on one of the screens, I'd appear in that body, in that life, looking through that person's eyes. So in the various spiritual texts and scriptures, For example, in Buddhism, they'll say, in the third watch of the night or the first watch of the night, he attained the recollection of his former existences. But how that actually occurs is never explained. It just says, oh, seeing with wisdom, his taints were destroyed. That's what it says. That's his enlightenment, or that's the phrase for enlightenment in the various courses. So all of these different key insights or key realizations in the scriptures are not described in experiential terms generally. So this whole recollection or viewing the past, present, future lives, that appeared to me in a very specific way. These screens appeared, and just like I explained, Edgar Cayce, for example, when he accessed this particular higher self field of consciousness, he described it as walking through a garden, and in the garden was an old man holding a book, and he would open the book of life for whatever person he was reading, or for himself doing a reading for. And out of the book, these images would appear like movies, and you'd be able to enter the reality that had the answer to his question, or that would appear as a actual movie or a scene that he would enter. So these different planes of consciousness manifest themselves differently. I suspect they manifest themselves differently depending on the individual, depending on the person that's experiencing them. So maybe a person who lived 300 years ago, if they access this higher self plane, they wouldn't see screen. They would see something else, like images coming out of the mouth of an angel, or images coming out of the mouth of a deity, this sort of thing. So, but that's theoretical. I don't know for sure if it's different or how things actually are for other beings. I don't know. But this particular level of consciousness is accessible through dream work and through out-of-body experience. So in an out-of-body experience, we have this separation of the astral body from the physical body. And from the vantage point of being a physical body, you see it as a projection of consciousness outside the physical body. So we call it an out-of-body experience or astral projection. But it's not really the most fitting term, is where I'm getting at. You exit the physical body, and we're under the impression that we're now in this reality that's outside of us. But the truth is, you never experience a reality that's outside of you. All realities you experience, all levels of consciousness you experience are all consciousness. So in the OBE state, you enter this, what I've found, it's like a shared reality, but it's also simulated. There's parts of these realities that are being moved around or controlled by a level of consciousness that is even outside of that. And that's what I call higher self or guidance. So in the dream where this phone call was made, my consciousness split into two dream realities. In one of those, I was lucid. In the other, I wasn't. So I was on one end of the phone call, making the phone call. And then in the other reality, I was a person that was receiving the phone call, but my consciousness was in both. So in the reality that was sending the call, there were a group of beings inside this architecture of the soul that I call the mainframe. Seems they manage the various simultaneous incarnations. So from this plane, all of your past, present, future lives, they're happening at once. And you would see that having entered that place, and like you're actually outside of linear progression in time. So what we perceive as past, present, and future from that plane is accessible in present time. So if you were to visit a moment in your past, for example, you would appear in the moment of the past, looking through the eyes of your younger self. This mainframe called the me in the dream and had a very profound message. And it was really the culmination of the 2 months of work that we did. I mean, especially James and I, we were doing like out of body attempts like 3 times a week. Even David was having all these lucid dreams. So like everyone was just really going in on it and was highly focused at that time. The message was very profound. It was simple, but this is how it went. If you live your life according to the plan that you/we designed, you'll be happy and life will be full of joy. If you do not live according to the plan that you/we designed, your life will be full of suffering and misery. Suffering is by design to move you back towards the original plan. We love you. We're always here for you. Goodbye. Vanishes. I'm back in the dreamscape, and then I wake up. Okay. So first of all, I never tell myself I love you, and that I'm always here for you. I just don't talk to myself like that, right? So what I've discovered through all of this lucid dreaming and OBE work is that what we call you, or me, or mind, exists on multiple levels. So here at the human level, our consciousness appears as this physical experience that we're having, the physical body, the senses, our thoughts, our memories. So consciousness appears as this. In the astral plane, in an out-of-body experience or in the dreamscape, consciousness appears as the dreamscape, or it appears as the astral body. So in the astral body, you have this body made of light, can fly through walls and travel at the speed of thought. Consciousness is appearing as that astral body and the astral environment. In the higher self mainframe, consciousness appears as the mainframe and as the experiences and knowledge that is there. In cosmic consciousness, which are experiences that are really far from our physical perception. I had one using Focus 12, and it was really one of the reasons I felt that we should start this class and this series. I was laying here right on this couch, and I was listening to Focus 12, which is a meditation from the Monroe Institute. It's just a frequency. Like there's not really any guidance. Just a frequency. The room, the couch, everything, it vanished, and there was just this ocean of stars and voidness of space. So consciousness is appearing as the ocean of stars and the voidness of space. So this is an overarching view that no matter what you do, what you experience, where you are, what plane you enter, it's all consciousness, nature of mind, radiant presence. There's so many different words that we use for this field. In the dreamscape, there's nothing that you can point to that is not the dream, right? So in the dreamscape, you have these dramas, these different experiences, there's characters, there's your body, there's time, okay? All of these aspects of the dream are none other than the dream itself. You can't point to anything or experience anything that's not the dream. But what is the dream? Like, what is the actual dream? It's the only thing you can point to and say the dream is the dreamscape. You can only point to what is appearing. The dream is nothing other than the dreamscape. So this experience we're having right now, talking through Zoom, this is nothing other than consciousness. Nothing I point to, that you can point to, that you can touch, feel, is outside of you. It may appear that it is, but when you actually investigate, you find that that's not the case. It's all your mind. There are